talking about episode 2 of Interview with the Vampire. Do you know what it means to be loved by death? It was such a good episode. Like, this is probably easily my favorite episode of the season. Now, we only had 2, but as of filming this, episode 3 is out, so I've seen episode 3. But it's my favorite of the season so far. And I have my little trusty book here. Didn't have this baby out when I filmed last week, and it's just out of frame, so sorry about that. And my cat is also just out of frame. Romeo, say hi. Romeo, say hi. There he is. He has decided that he wants to sit right here. Before we start out, let's give a little commotion for the eye makeup. I brought out my Interview with the Vampire eyeshadow palette again. I'm pretty sure it's clear that I am not a makeup girly. However, I have this palette, so I thought, why not? It should be fun messing around with it, giving it some use. Why not, while we're doing this little recap and review? So for this episode, I dug in the palette and chose this color here. It's called Coven, which is very apt for this episode. And we always blend it out with this black called Vampire. So yeah, that's the little makeup look. And now let's get into this episode. I do want to say before we actually start, this little review, this little recap review talk situation, it's not spoiler free obviously for the episode, but it's also not spoiler free for the books or the movie. I've been an Anne Rice fan and a fan of this franchise for a long time now. Not active in the fandom the whole time, but definitely I loved the books when I read them in high school. I loved the movie when it came out. I was super excited to see that the series was coming out. Obviously, I'm loving the series. So I've love for the entirety of the series. I just reread the first 3 books, Interview with the Vampire, The Vampire Lestat, and Queen of the Damned last year. So my recap reviews will have a flavor of all 3 of those, the books, the movie, and the TV series, primarily focusing on this TV series, of course, but it's not spoiler free for the books and the movie. I will be bringing in some knowledge from both of those sources. So if y'all are coming to this series completely blind, I've come across one reactor that is literally coming to the series completely blind, so I'm sure they're not the only ones. A lot of people do have some knowledge of the books and or the movie, but if you're coming to it completely blind and really don't want to know anything that's coming up, don't want to be spoiled for anything, please put a pin mark in this recap review. Come back to it after the season is done. I don't want to spoil anything for you. Now, with all that being said, let's get into this episode. Yeah, I'll try to give some spoiler warnings before I start talking anything spoilery. But yeah. So this episode opens up with Louis and Claudia together, talking, joking, having some fun, and we love to see it. I love that their relationship seems to be on the mend after they've arrived to Paris. It's me and you, you and me. We love that speech, and I'm really happy that their relationship's on the mend. I love Louis and Claudia, and they're, like I said last time, they're my favorite dynamic of the series so far. I have the actual episode on my laptop down here too, so I don't want to make sure I don't forget any talking points. So you see me looking down here, that's what I'm looking at. Now the first little potentially spoilery the first little potential spoilery bit that I haven't seen anybody talk about is that Louis and Claudia they're perched on top of a statue that heavily features Pegasus. I believe it might be Mercury astride Pegasus, because we do see a little bit of another part of the statue in the background, but Pegasus is really in the forefront of the statue that Louis and Claudia are perched on. Now, doing a little background, little research, I found out that Pegasus is the winged horse in Greek mythology. I knew that off the top of my head. I was definitely Greek mythology girly. We know this, Xena Warrior Princess. If you don't know, you know, very big fan of that show, and they really used a lot of the myths in that series from Greek mythology. So I knew of Pegasus, but I did not know the origin story. One version of the myth is that Pegasus was born from the decapitation of his mother. Now, spoiler alert, in the books, Claudia is not in this original trilogy, but we come to find out that Claudia was beheaded. We have our first reference in this episode alone of a beheading, somebody's mind being separated from their body, things like that. So that we have that first little reference there. I don't know if anybody else caught that, but I was definitely like, they're perched on this statue for a reason. And could that be some foreshadowing? I don't know, but let's just enjoy this little cute moment between Louis and Claudia and put that to the back of our head. But that is the first reference. This episode opens up on a completely different tone than any other episode that has happened in this season. It is lighthearted, it's playful, it's cute. Freaking Louis and Armand are finishing each other's sentences. Like, what's going on here? I don't trust it. Also in this episode, we're playing with like perspective and zooming and like on my camera it's called like soft focus or something. So we have a lot of that, like zooming in on somebody's face and the background being kind of blurry. So I feel like something is going on in this episode. Something, Louis is very dreamy, like both him and Armand. Daniel's in a very hyper fun mood. So, you know, something's not right. We've never had that in the past. And, you know, it's weird. So my immediate thought is what's happening? What's happening here? And is what's happening? Are we being, as the audience and the characters themselves, is something going on? We've just really gotten a chance to meet Armand in the show, but in the book, it's a very powerful mind gift and the ability to create surroundings that are very real to the people and vampires experiencing it. So I'm already on alert. Is Armand doing something here? That's just one thing that was brought to my attention immediately. It's too playful. It's too playful. In this episode, we beat the vampires, the Théâtre des Vampires, the Coven. They are fun, they're theatrical, they're amazing, they're funny. And the leader of this group, we have Armand, yes, but the other leaders, apparently the lead actor in the Coven in the theater is Santiago. In the books and in the movie, Santiago is notoriously not a favorite character. He really is the first vampire that Louis meets, and Louis immediately pisses him off. But in the show, in this episode, we see that Armand is the first vampire that Louis meets, and it's very, a lot of people said romantic. I felt Louis was scared to death, so I didn't get the romance part. But yeah, the vampire Santiago is very magnetic. He is interesting. He is a little playful. He's serious. Like he's giving a lot, and his monologue is incredibly enigmatic and enthralling. And when he yells at that pivotal moment, I also was right there in the audience and took a step took a step back. It was very jarring. But I loved that his monologue, and I also felt that he's immediately gonna be a character that you love to hate. So I'm so looking forward to seeing more of Santiago in the series, even though I know it's gonna break my heart. I know it's gonna break my heart. Falling in love with a character who, spoiler alert, is going to be the downfall of both Louis and Claudia. I love that Louis has this little hobby of taking photos. People have conjectured that it was because he was trying to determine what's real and what's not real with a tangible thing. A photo is a tangible evidence of what is real and what is not. But we don't really see him. For me at least, it didn't come off immediately that that's why he was using the camera. He said he just likes to capture people, so it is yet to be seen if he's actually using it as a way to distinguish what's real and what's not, because we know Lestat is haunting him. If not a real physical manifestation, a haunting, he's in there. So then later on the episode, before Claudia meets Madeline, she says, I don't know what I need, maybe a new brain in my head. Number 2 reference of Claudia, new head, new brain in this episode. When they finally get to the theater, we see that Claudia is enthralled with these vampires. She's wide-eyed, she's cheering, she is ecstatic not only to meet them, but ecstatic to see what they're doing. She calls it vampire pride. And Louis is appalled. Claudia doesn't think he's actually appalled. She thinks he's appalled about that they're killing somebody on stage, that he's being empathetic to the woman who they kill. But she thinks underneath that, she thinks that he needs to let go and realize, like, this is awesome. I don't think that it's empathy for the woman. I think Louis is actually appalled. Where we see him being appalled and highly upset with Lestat when he's killing the opera singer. He thinks he's being too theatrical. We don't have to humiliate them. And this is really what they're doing on stage too. I'm not sure in different versions if the woman is actually naked, but in the movie she's naked. In books they strip her, screaming, crying, throwing up on stage because she's experiencing her death in real time in front of hundreds of people who can help her if they believed her. So this is, that little situation with opera singer times 1,000. But Louis, while being highly upset about the situation, he also continues to fraternize with this coven of vampires. We see him do a little bit of hemming and hawing about it later, like, they're dangerous, we shouldn't go back there. And Claudia's like, no, we're going back there. And he does not put up much of a fight. He's enthralled with Armand. Who wouldn't be? I mean, look at Assad, he's gorgeous. And I think that's Louis is attracted to red flags, walking red flags. That's probably like the major reason why he goes back. Maybe he thinks that it's not as bad as it is. Maybe he thinks he can maybe have some influence to bring them out of doing this. I don't know what's going on with my man's head. But he sees that, is upset about it, but continues to, like I said, go along and hang out with these crazy vamps. So we'll see how that works out. How that works out for him. I feel like at the ending shot, he's gonna try and mold himself to be something that he's not again. We see him kind of looking super concerned and upset still about upset that Claudia's so excited to be with these vampires. I mean, and right before that final shot of the episode, they're going and they're hunting in a pack, working themselves up into a frenzy to go to a mansion and slaughter every human being in the mansion and then set it on fire. Like, they're not playing around. So we see him looking troubled, but then plastering on a fake smile because Claudia is so excited and everybody around him is so excited. So I don't know if Louis is going to pull back completely from this group or try and mold himself to be something that he's not, or mold himself to, or force himself to try to be this vampire that Lestat always wanted him to be: ruthless, vicious, hungry for blood. He can go either way, and I think he's gonna go. I think he's gonna go left. As I'm pointing right, I think he's gonna go left. Yeah, but that's my thoughts and opinions. I don't know what Louis is gonna do. Jacob has continuously said in interviews that he hopes that we like Louis by the end of it, and I hope so too. And the third reference to Claudia's ultimate demise, we have Armand saying, imagine her with a body that comparable to her mind. Sir, stay away from her. Like, he is, spoiler alert, Armand is the one who beheads Claudia and conducts these experiments on her to attach her child head to a grown woman's body. So coming from him, that is a direct reference, okay? Stay away from her. In this episode, Daniel finds out that Lestat and Armand had a relationship, and his telenovela line was hilarious. He's just like, you guys are, this is too much. And it is too much. It was so funny. Louis, and not only does Armand admit to sleeping with Lestat or having a relationship with Lestat, however brief, Louis is quick to point that out. And he tasted like a vermouth and annihilation, which is so funny. Which, aka disgusting. Armand is so petty, and I think also in this episode he's like, yeah, I was together with Louis for 47 years, longer than Lestat. So like he's very, very petty with my man Lestat. But he also admits to having relationships with many other coven members, and a lot of people kind of brought up the fact that, you know, Louis doesn't seem to be bothered with that. And I feel like what people are forgetting to realize is that not only is this a different relationship and dynamic, whereas Lestat was very heavy-handed, it's my way or the highway, he did things and then tried to explain them later. You know, with the whole Antoinette situation, he's there flirting and making out with her in front of Louis, and then afterwards he's like, hey Louis, yeah, I like girls too, and I would like to, you know, have relations with them occasionally. Like, where, you know, he does what he wants and then tries to explain later, where I feel like in this relationship so far it seems like they talk first and then move on from there. I feel like it seems like that, you know, maybe they had this agreement, like, okay guys, like, okay, we're not gonna be exclusive. Is that okay with you? If it's not, let me know. You know what I mean? It feels very much like they listen to each other more. It's more of a conversation instead of I'm your maker and I'm telling you what the laws of the land are. So yeah, that's my little hot take with their relationship seems to be so far. We'll see how it grows, and also it seems like maybe Louis himself wanted to experiment more. We see him going to the park. Lestat was truly Louis' first in the show. He said he had some fumblings, but like this was his first relationship with a man. So Louis is finding himself, and maybe while he's finding himself in a cruising park, he's like, yeah, there's something to this open relationship thing. We don't know. So we can't, it's not right to fully call Louis a hypocrite for not wanting to do things in his relationship with Lestat that he's now doing with Armand. People grow and change. Vampires grow and change. So yeah. But that was funny. The letter reading scene with Lestat, it was gorgeous. Sam bodied that monologue. It was beautiful. I don't know. So at first, when I first watched the episode, I thought that Lestat wrote that letter after they began planning to kill him, because the way he says, basically let treachery eat them up from those who did it to him, those who killed him, eat them up from the inside. And the way Sam read it, the way Sam performed that line, it was giving very much like I know it was you, and I'm talking to you, Louis. Let it eat you up. But upon further thinking about it, that could be Louis thinking that's how Lestat would read it. This is getting so confusing, because this is a manifestation of this. Lestat reading this letter is a manifestation from Louis' own mind, right? And while these are Lestat's own words, we also have the filter of how Louis would think that Lestat would read it. So I'm thinking, like, the letter is the letter, and we have Lestat reading and acting the letter out. So when he reads that line, like, let treachery eat them up, it's very like he's glaring at Louis, and I feel like that's Louis' guilt in that moment, but it's not what Lestat meant. So I don't know when he wrote that letter. Some people say he wrote it literally the day after he met Louis. He was so down bad for him, which is funny. He's just like, whatever ill comes to me, like, you're the love of my life, like, which could very much well be. So yeah, I'm not sure when. My initial thought was right when they knew that they were gonna kill him during the murder plot, but now I'm not so sure. I do know that I teared up, and it was a beautifully acted scene by Sam. Brad Pitt blowout and all. This episode was wild, y'all. I'm obsessed with the music choices, the visual choices, the juxtaposition of like these deeply dramatic scenes with like the comical element of this episode. And it did not feel like it was too much going on. It felt perfectly well balanced. The tonal change was just out of this world. Like, I could not have predicted this episode happening in this show in this way. It was so funny. It was so lighthearted. It was just like, and that's another reason why I said something was going on. Like, I don't know if it was Armand, his influence, trying to bring down the seriousness of the interview. We had Louis screaming, crying, throwing up in the last episode. But yet here we are laughing, giggling, holding hands. Like, something's going on, and I don't know what it is. I cannot wait to find out. And the final thing I'm going to talk about in this episode, we have people being super upset that Louis went into Daniel's memories and kind of really like antagonized him. And girl, I'm a Louis girly. I'm sorry. I'm here for Louis wrongs. Of course, it was not nice of him to dig into Daniel's memories and pull out this very painful thing and mock him. But Daniel literally was doing the same thing to him. People are saying that Louis has this unfair vampiric advantage. But I think it's even worse that here Louis is verbalizing this trauma, this deeply sad and emotional thing that's going on, and Daniel is mocking him. He's making fun of him. He's digging in places that Louis has clearly said, I don't want to go down, you know, and especially things that don't really matter and move along the story, i.e. Claudia's assault in the last episode. Claudia's assault in the last season, when Daniel really wanted to read the ripped out pages of the journal and Louis said no, and Daniel kept digging and prodding. And it's like, that's not directly related to the interview, but you're digging and prodding. And the same thing this season, he's being a penis. he's not being nice at all, and he can dish it, but he can't take it. So I feel like Louis was definitely in his right to do what he did. Yes, he has an unfair advantage, but how else is he going to get back at Daniel? What else can he do? He has access to Daniel's thoughts and memories. Like, Louis has to physically tell Daniel these things. Louis does not have that same advantage, so he's going to use whatever advantage he has, and I support him. I support my canceled husband. I support him. I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Daniel, if Daniel can dish it, Daniel better well take it. And that's just how I feel on that. But anyway, y'all, like I said, I really liked this episode. It moved up to my second favorite episode of the season, out of the 3 that I've seen so far. Episode 3 recap and review reaction, whatever, is coming up soon. Hope you check that out when I post it. But as for this episode, we're done. Can't wait to see how the rest of the series unfolds and what's ahead of us and what surprises are in store. I am not a big speculator. I do have some thoughts and theories, but I'm not a huge speculator of what's going to happen, even with book knowledge, with show knowledge. I'm letting, like Louis said, I'm letting the tale seduce me. So yeah, I hope you guys are letting the tale seduce you too. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, sit. If you're gonna sit, sit. Okay, go. Nope. Not that way. Go that way. Thank you. No. No. He's trying to mess with my tripod setup. That's precariously teetering on a stool. Any motion, it's gonna collapse.